Welcome to the Tackling Tech podcast, powered by Dyknow. Join us as we tackle all things EdTech with insightful interviews, actionable tips, and strategies that you can implement in your school or district to make technology integration more effective. Whether you're a teacher, a tech coach, or a technology administrator, we're giving you an advantage in your role by sharing stories from people who are passionate about working with their peers and enhancing the learning experience with technology. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now let's tackle some tech.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tackling Tech, a podcast that shares stories about how you can build better collaboration in K-12 schools. I am your host, Brett McGrath, Vice President of Marketing at Dyknow, and I'm excited for today's episode. Thank you so much for everyone who's given us early feedback so far on our episodes. That's been super helpful, and we love engaging with the audience at this stage. Thanks for being an early adopter of Tackling Tech, and if you'd like to hear more, we definitely encourage you to find us on your favorite podcast listening platform. We are on Apple, Overcast, Google, Spotify, and Pocket Cast. It would be super helpful if you like what you're hearing to subscribe, rate, and review. That definitely helps us out and it gives us further visibility in the early stages. If you have a note or want to talk with us about any topics that you found interesting from this episode, or you have ideas on new episodes, you can share that feedback at Tackling Tech Pod on Twitter. Tiara is in control of that handle and certainly will get back with everyone who responds. Final plug is we had such a great time hosting the Technology Coaching Conference a few weeks ago that we'll be hosting a summit coming up, and it's a remote learning summit. It'll be on April 17th, and you can find information on that at dyknow.com. Just go to dyknow.com. And we have a banner up top. Click the banner and you'll learn more. It's going to be great. We've worked with 4 different technology coaches that will be help facilitating the conversation. And we received overwhelming 104 questions from the audience in the first week of things that they want what they want addressed and answers that they need based on remote learning tactics and ideas. So the engagement is high. The registration is going up by the day. So make sure you do not miss that. Okay, let's get to why we are here. I'm excited today to be joined by Erika Rodriguez. Erika is currently a middle school science teacher at Klein ISD, which is in Harris County, right in the Houston area. How are you doing today, Erika?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Erika and I had a chance to talk before this call, and I mentioned that I had a trip before we were all bound to our homes to Houston earlier this year and couldn't get over how great all of the food is in the Houston area. You can validate that, right, Erika?
Oh, yes, I can. We are definitely missing our restaurants. We do take out every once in a while, but not very often.
That's good. That's good to support those local restaurants. I wish I could do some takeout of some tacos I had during my time there. They were delicious, and I definitely have a reason now to go back to Houston. But anyways, I'm excited because this is the first conversation we've had on Tackling Tech since COVID-19 has hit, and it's from the teacher's perspective. So last week we had Sean Coffrin on, and he shared his insights on how the tech coach role has not fundamentally changed in light of remote learning and how this would drive forward the importance of remote learning and shaping schools' curriculum. I guess this is just from the teacher perspective, Erika, super early for you, but how is, operating as a teacher from a remote perspective gone in the first few weeks? I know you had a spring break in there, but any early indications or feedback that you have?
It has gone a lot towards me being more of a facilitator as the teacher. In my classroom, I had a few classes that were more where I could let them run with stuff and they were good to go, and then I would step in. And then I had a few classes that were more of, I was, as they say, the sage on the stage. But now it is pretty much, I'm just the facilitator. We meet every day with my office hours, and if they have questions, I can help them. But it's the learning really now is on their own unless they have some issues, and that's when I can come in and I can help them with that.
Now, how are you, the sage on the stage? I like that. How are you, based on, all of your experience as being a teacher and being face to face? How are you doing in giving up some of those like primary, responsibilities that filled your day to day? Those changes in your workflow, I would imagine, are somewhat significant from your perspective. So how are you getting through it and making this new normal for you at this point?
I really miss getting to shake the kids' hands or high five or fist bump, or every morning or every class period I would do that. And I can't do that anymore. So one of the things I always started my class with was a class craft random event. And we do really odd things with that. And so I wanted to keep that going. So every morning at about 8 o'clock, I get up at around 7 or so now. 8 o'clock, I'm on my Screencastify with my Classify and, I'm sorry, not Classify, with my Classcraft. And I do a random event virtually with the kids. And then that goes out to the kids through my LMS and we post it, and then they get their point. One of them was like helping hands, and they had to help one of their parents or guardian with a chore. And then if their guardian or parent emailed me back that said that they helped, then they got the XP. So that's one of the ways that I've kind of kept somewhat normal. It's different. I'm spending a lot more time on my computer than I have ever done as a teacher. It's different.
Yeah, and it sounds like, in that example, you're leaning on technology that's currently in place to drive engagement with students. Have you had any challenges just in terms of technology and its availability to, all of the students that you're currently teaching?
I actually have, our LMS was bogged down. And so this week was really our big push. And a lot of the kids said, I can't get on. I have 2 high school kids and an elementary kid myself. And the high school kids are like, Mom, I can't get on the internet. And I said, just put it down and try it again. Later, one of my daughters even said, I'm going to become a vampire and I'm going to sleep during the day and get on at night because that's when nobody else is on. I was like, that's a smart idea, but I'm going to have to squash that right away. So the internet connectivity has been one of the big downfalls right now, because I know our LMS has sent out information that said that their usage has jumped 400%. That's
Wow.
huge. Yeah. So that's our biggest drawback. But we're pretty lucky because our secondary level is all 1-to-1. So our kids have computers already that they take home with them. So we were really lucky on that point, because there are other districts that are not 1-to-1.
Yeah, for all those districts that went 1-to-1 prior to this, I've definitely heard in my conversations, that's definitely an advantage in bridging the gap between, the teachers and the students at this point. One thing I want to ask you about, just because you brought it up and mentioned, and I think it would be interesting for the audience, but we're talking about you right now as the teacher, but another role you play is the mom, and you've got 3 at home trying to get through their daily lessons. And then, you're as the teacher are trying to educate all your students. How are you on a daily basis able to manage that back and forth from putting your teacher hat on 1 minute and then your mom hat on the other minute?
It was really hard starting out. We kind of had, like you mentioned earlier, that spring break. Well, our district gave us an extended spring break. And then we kind of did a slow start. And we were just kind of hanging out, and I was getting on the computer and talking to the kids every once in a while and stuff like that. But this week, we actually had to sit down as a family and say, this is what we're going to do. You're going to get up at this time. You're going to do this, this, and this. And then I even have my home office is, I'm doing air quotes here, is in my bedroom, and I have a makeshift sheet up behind me. And when I'm in here, it's my teacher role. When I've got all the equipment set up, I'm in my teacher role. And once I put that down and I'm outside of this area and I've closed up my office, then it's the mom role. But it's hard. I have to tell myself, okay, Erika, get up, go outside, do something. You got to take care of yourself. So this week has been tough in that respect.
Yeah, I bet. It's, from just seeing, talking with teachers like you, taking to Twitter, it's been definitely, it's admirable playing both roles. And it's been interesting from my perspective to see everyone trying to make it as normal as possible, whether it's whiteboards with structure of times and this is the days and this is what everyone's going to be doing, or just something as simple as sitting down at the table during breakfast and hashing out, this is what we'll be taking care of today. But I think, we talk a lot about just how we communicate with all of our students or stakeholders at the school district. But, what's most important too at this point is communicating with the people we're living with and making sure we're not stepping on each other and we're on the same page. So I hear a lot of that in what you're saying. I'm curious, just in terms of, you've got your students as the stakeholders, but then I'm sure there's, tech coaches and admins and other people you're normally working with on a day-to-day at your district. How are you collaborating and communicating with them in a remote setting?
Our district set up a PD, online PD for us. And so there's a whole schedule, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, where they have all of our digital technology people coming in and doing webinars. And so we can go to those. And then as a staff for my school, we meet on Mondays in a Zoom meeting. We're all becoming pretty adept at that. And another way that we meet is through our science department meets as a PLC. And we meet for about an hour and we discuss, and we've been texting back and forth and keeping tabs on everybody and emails and calls. It's just a lot of talking through with the technology. And I miss my teaching family greatly. So every once in a while, I got to get a fix and text them to see what they're doing.
Yeah. Are you finding in those staff meetings and those PLCs, are you finding that the people that you're typically working with and around are dealing with the same challenges you have, presenting new challenges that you might not be facing, or maybe a mix of both?
It's probably a mix of both. I know that one of my teaching partners has really good rapport with his kids, and he had a high percentage of his students finishing up the activities that we send out as the district. And then myself and the other teacher, we're like, what's your magic button, or what's your magic pill, or whatever it is? And so he was doing really well. And it's just interesting to see the motivation of the students and who's getting the work done and who's not. But we're all almost having the same challenges if you've got the kids at home, and the parents are facing it too. We're all trying to get to a new normal.
Yeah, totally. And I like, though, learning from others and, other teachers and asking how are you driving engagement and what's working for you. And I think, from my perspective, that's so important right now. And that's part of the reason what we're trying to do with the conferences, digital conferences we're hosting, and the podcasts that we're on right now is just to share stories from other people in similar roles to try to inspire and give educators ideas on things that they can be doing to better facilitate their role in this environment that's not clear for anybody at this point. So I'm really excited to hear that you guys are aligning internally to learn from each other, and it sounds like good direction. It always is from my end. I'm curious about jumping into just digital citizenship. I think I've always thought about digital citizenship from the student perspective, but I think it would be safe to say that this experience has caused you to maybe have to look at yourself in the mirror when it comes to digital citizenship. How do you think this experience, do you think it's making you a better digital citizen?
Oh, it is. I do a lot of digital stuff I did before this. I just now am looking at how I respond to people, whether it's in an email or whether it's on Twitter, a Facebook post, or on the phone even, I guess. And I was one to always be cut and dry. And I think at this time, to be more of a citizen, we've got to make sure that we're making sure everybody is okay first before we really go into the nitty gritty of everything. And I know that's not really it's more of a citizen digitally, not necessarily a digital citizen. It's just a little turn on that.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot, actually. And that reminds me of a tweet I saw from someone in my network. And it was something to the effect of, you don't understand the power of just shooting someone a text at this point that just asks the question, how are you doing? And I think when I saw that tweet, it really hit home to me that, whether you're in education, you're in technology, you're at home, like it doesn't matter what industry you're in, just trying to reach out to the people that friends, family, coworkers, and just asking that question in this period, how are you doing, can really go a long way. And I think I like your spin on digital citizenship in this era of K-12 education. And I think thinking that way can really go a long way. It can help drive and build not only better collaboration, but, better relationships. Curious, just in terms of support. And, I know a lot of teachers at this point feel like, they might be on an island. They've got technology they need, but, it's not the same. I'm curious, how are you getting the support you need from your school or district during this time?
We do have a lot of communication just through, we do also use Remind. So we get Remind texts every once in a while, just saying, how you doing? Or we saw so-and-so on a webinar and just want to shout out to them. And I even have had 504 meetings and emails, and we're just really taking care of each other just in communication.
I love that. Yeah, communication, it's important, in the building, but even more critical at this point. So just one more for you, Erika. I know this has been great. I've learned a ton. I'm curious on if, there's thousands of teachers out there dealing with the same situation as everyone else. So based on your experience in operating as a teacher in a remote learning session or a remote learning environment, what type of advice might you have that you've picked up in your first few weeks as a remote learning teacher?
Take it slow. Slow and steady. It just try one new thing, because I know we've got a lot of technology coming at us. Just try one new thing. Don't get bogged down by everything that's hitting you. And really the one thing that take it slow, take care of yourself. And the one thing is good, because I know myself, I caught myself today, I was writing an email and then I went off to do something else and I'm like, nope, I got to stop. I got to finish this email one thing at a time. And then I can go to my next thing. And just take care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't really take care of our students. And we're all going to come out on this on the other end at some point in time, and we need to all be healthy and doing well.
I love that. And I will also say, I feel like we have not talked about what you just described, but we are aligned and on the same page. I had a meeting this week, and the first topic was basically, how are you doing and how are you operating in this environment? And the big thing I said was, before we jumped in, and I'm very routine oriented. I like going into the office. I like being around people. And so I knew this was going to be a challenge for me. But before I even started and jumped in, the one thing I did was take a step back and look out for my own physical and my mental health before I jumped into this and thought about me first. And it's kind of a weird thing to do, but if you don't do that and you're not taking care of yourself, nothing else will really translate or matter. So it's nice to hear you kind of confirm those thoughts that I've had in my head. And you know what? I'm with you on this. It's really hard to get caught up in the day-to-day and, worrying and being around this, but we're all going to come out on the other side of this. And I think we'll all be better for this. Erika, this has been super helpful. I'm so happy that I could get you on Tackling Tech and share the teacher perspective at this point. I know our audience members will certainly benefit from this. I will say it in closing, everyone be well. And if you like what you heard, definitely subscribe and leave us a little review. Give us that 5 stars, and hopefully everyone out there stays safe. Thanks so much, Erika.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.